Hi.
Hi.
We're Vivian K. I'm Jesse.
I'm Cass.
And I'm Daniel.
This is Level to the Room.
Yes, it is.
What genre we are, I think, is
Arguable.
but
Yeah.
most likely emo. And we play with tons of emo bands, and what I'm about to say, I don't want to discredit anyone that we play with or anything like that, but like love and just like in breakups, although are not the main focus of this band, even though they often form a familiar backdrop for something so that you're convinced that you're hearing some stereotypical type breakup song. We always try to make it about something more than that, and even like the most quintessentially dumped type of songs that we have actually are not coming from that place at all, because I think that most humans actually have more complicated feelings than just being hurt, spurned by lovers, jealous. Those are like cool, those are good starting points, I think, but they're also old and they're tired. And I listen to a lot of emo music and they just prattle on about kind of the same thing. This band started in a lot of ways because we were all in a bunch of hardcore bands in Orlando, different kinds of hardcore and stuff like that, but just all of it was hardcore, it was all extreme, not like true hardcore, but angry music, extreme music. And I started this band because I wanted to do the other side of shit, and so in a lot of ways this band comes from a dissatisfaction with the scene that we were actually a part of, and it's weird to say that, but like, I wanted to do something completely different, and when we started this band, we're going through a lot of shit with other bands, and our old bands were breaking up, and shit was changing in Orlando, and people were moving away, and all of this whatever, so it was convenient in a way to just flee the scene, and me and Danny did a lot. In particular, Danny did a lot to like book a lot of shows in Orlando, and we were, we knew of every show that was happening where we were, we kind of just felt like we needed to be somewhere where we were nothing to people there, so we moved to Chicago, which was like a huge music city, and then kind of you just end up discovering that it's the same everywhere you go, and that the scene that we were looking for in Chicago was exactly as small as the scene in Orlando, just like inside of a big city, because within a few months we were having shows at our house and having like 100 people at shows at our house, like knew all of the people that we'd secretly hoped we would get to know before we moved there, and then we're just like friends with them now, so it's like, I feel like anywhere in America, at least, because those are the only places I've been, or cities in America, is all the same. Like, the scene is the same,
Every scene needs more places for people to play, and every scene needs people to foster musical communities.
It just needs volunteers. They all need it.
And that's something that I realized when I first started playing and booking shows in Orlando, is that if you show up to a community that you're not a part of and offer them whatever help you can provide, then it fundamentally changes the way that they want to interact with you. So having moved to Chicago and having started having not just like some shows that our friends came to, but like really big crazy shows in our basement, really made it easy to integrate ourselves into a scene that had never heard of us, because the first thing we tried to do was help everyone enjoy art more. Very good.
For sure, part of the thing is that every song is different, every song has a different message, every song's lyrics are different, and every song of ours seeks to tell a story that is different than any other of the songs, but I do think like one of the things that compels me a lot is like looking at the scene, looking at the music that I've come from, the music that's around me, and trying to do something that I think and that we think is more that has an immediate effect, that is present at a show, whether it be in a basement or at a place like Loosey's, or like in a a bedroom like this, or not a bedroom, but you know, a living room like this, where like regardless of whether you've picked up on some like whatever duplicitous and complex meaning I've tried to cram into songs, that when you hear it, you're hearing the words, you're hearing the music, and it has some kind of, you know, it has an effect on you, and that it makes you think about the things that I personally want you to think about, which includes all kinds of shit from 9/11 to alien conspiracy theories to just plain old not stabbing your friends in the back,
to
not
like gender roles,
and I honestly think that the main thing is like music can be like a fable, you know, and it's not just that every song has to have a fucking moral at the end, and every song is going to be so clear cut that at the end of the song it's like, oh, don't stab your friends in the back or don't cheat on somebody, but I think that songs convey complicated, deep truths that something like an Aesop's Fable can't. So it's like almost, I feel my duty as somebody that writes songs, and we feel as our duty as a band, to try to present people with complicated ethical problems in the modern day and make them face those things and look at them, you know what I mean?
And face them in a way that they enjoy these days.
Yeah.
To encourage
Totally.
people to and analyze the complexities of human life and to create their own art as a result of it.
For sure.
And I think that the only reason we're here in the first place is because we were inspired by other people, and the idea is to inspire people to like really try and understand what it is about music making that still makes the world tick. Because like regardless of any of the technological advances or the advances in like other media, is that people still love to hear other people play songs to them, and it makes them feel something, you know.
For sure.
On the road. Best thing about being on the road
Doggos.
is doggos, definitely tour doggos,
Tour
and not having to answer to a boss that wants you to do silly things that don't really matter.
Oh yeah, like not having to like do a shitty task for money, like that you're not certain you have any moral faith in.
The worst day on tour is not nearly as bad as the shittiest day at the shitty day job that one has.
What do you think? I want to know
Nothing.
what you think is the best thing, though. I want to hear your input.
What?
Yeah,
The
what's
best
the
thing
best
about
thing about
tour.
tour?
Smoking weed.
Lots
No, I'm
of,
kidding.
lots of.
Sorry.
It's not the best thing, but one of the things is that people offer you more drugs than at any other time in your
Totally
life,
true.
and not even the drugs that you want. That's the shitty part.
That's the funny part.
Is that
really.
like, you know, like you just kind of like, we're chill. We don't like dabble in weird drugs that much.
I'll
but,
just
like,
say we turned down crack in Baltimore. And like,
we've
it's
turned
like-
down more hard drugs than we've
Like-
accepted soft drugs.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense, you know. But the worst part, I think, is there's like dehumanizing moments when, I don't know, you're at a show and it's not going good in terms of attendance, and the bands aren't necessarily good either, and the person that booked it doesn't necessarily care, and you're just sitting there thinking,
Why did I bother?
but like Danny said, even that is like nowhere near as bad as the times when you're like fucking walking food out to some yuppie and they're giving you shit about it, or you're like flipping burgers for some fat douchebag that's giving you shit about it, and you're wondering, what the fuck am I doing?
I guess for me, the big difference between touring and not touring is that when I'm touring, I don't come home from my crappy day job and wish I were dead, because I am a slave to the capitalist society that we
Yeah.
live in. And even though being in a band doesn't exempt me from that, I at least have some ethical standing to tell myself that my life was worthwhile today, which I can't say when I'm working at a restaurant serving a bunch of fat, rich white people their fancy food so that they can feel better about their lives.
Also, as a drummer, when I was like 18, one of my idols was also one of my best friends in a band in Orlando, and I remember at a point,
Who was it?
his name was Andrew. He was in a band called Con, and one time after a show, I was like, you know, what'd you think of the show, you know, or whatever, and he was like, you gotta hit harder. And that's all he told me. He didn't tell me he liked it or anything. He just said that I had to hit harder. And I was like 18, and I was like, it hurt my feelings, but at the same time, I just like went home and practiced drums until I hit them way harder. And then, you know, when you're playing with the kind of equipment like we were just talking about, like as a drummer, you just have to play really fucking loud because sometimes you don't have mics like tonight, you know, and the majority of our shows are in basements and weird spaces where I'm orchestrating like the sound, you know. If I play quieter, everybody has to turn down, and if I'm going to play really loud, everybody has to turn up, and it's like kind of just a matter of how hard you're playing to like as far as so like the fullness of the sound actually does have a lot to do with like just how
hard we
hard
actually
you're
want
playing.
yeah, and that goes for all of us because the thing is like in a recording setting, there's a really delicate and precise aspect to it that even though has everything to do with a live performance, one always plays harder live. It's
Yeah, in front of people.
The adrenaline of having people in front of you watching and captivated by what you do just is not something to be taken lightly. I don't know.
So we played a show in Adams, Massachusetts that was the worst thing ever, where we were supposed to play in an Elks Lodge, and we knew it was an Elks Lodge, which is like an offshoot of the Freemasons, and we arrived at the Elks Lodge. You know, you think it's gonna be bad, but like you don't necessarily presume the worst. And we walked in, and there's like a bar in the Elks Lodge, and everyone that was there was middle-aged, dressed in black, and like crying. Or like teary-eyed. And we walked up to the bar, and the bartender's like, "Oh, are you here for the funeral?" And we were like, "No, we're
we're supposed to play here.
To play here tonight." And they knew that we were supposed to play, but it was like another hour before anybody that had booked our show showed up. No one that booked the show or put the show together had listened to us because they all assumed we were an acoustic singer-songwriter, that we were one person, that Vivian K was the name of a person that sang acoustic stuff. So the whole show was an acoustic show except for us. And beneath us, like we were playing on the second story, and on the bottom, like basement story, was
a funeral,
an Elks funeral going on beneath us.
It's like how do you tell a story where your show is double booked with a funeral?
Yeah, like you're, and especially you're an emo band, and your show gets double booked with a funeral. Is like kind of, in some ways, the most ironic dream come true, right?
Oh, gosh. I think that we try to tackle subject matter that is not necessarily typical to popular music. Cass studied film, and Jesse and I studied writing, and I think that part of why we mesh so well as a band is because we're particularly concerned with untold narratives, or narratives that are told from perspectives that aren't often spoken about in popular culture, and in particular popular music. Also like DIY culture, because that's kind of what this band emerged from. The other thing is that I feel like we all try very hard to play our instruments very well, and it's not that I think that we're better at our instruments than other people, but like
definitely.
That is like, I mean, we're definitely better than some people at their.
But definitely not.
But like,
I say.
what I'm trying to say is that there is a technical aspect to this band that I feel is not often present in bands that we wind up interacting with or playing with because of similar subject matter or sonic tonality. I think that having all three of us come from more like extreme music backgrounds, we are fixated with being able to play our instruments in a way that is exceptional, or
at least intense.
At least intense.
Well, about that, I definitely miss
I think that I have a theory about how there's like the modern emotions are noisy, and like older emotions, like people in the 50s, they didn't experience emotions the same way. So the music was simpler, and it lacked it lacked the noise of modern existence, and we're riddled with the noise of being a part of fucking internet culture, and like music should reflect that, and like so you have to make music that's like full and explosive and like attention deficit. We always work together on the finished product, but I'm almost, with a few exceptions, I'm almost always the one that has a staple idea ready to go, like several riffs that you would say like verse chorus or some shit, and some lyrical ideas, and I always, and I bring it to the table and blah blah blah. But when the band started, it was just me, so a lot of the songs that we've learned were exclusively my writing, but we work together a lot now. We have songs that are Danny's riffs, we have ideas from everybody coming out, and we all try to like contribute and stuff like that, but they trust me a lot, and a lot of this started because
sometimes maybe too much.
Because they trust me, but a lot of this happened because they trust me, and because I write cool songs, hopefully, or at least I write the cool shells of songs that we make into something cooler together. But I like writing riffs, I love playing the guitar.
A riff machine.
I am a riff machine. I like write riffs more than I
try and stop them.
I write riffs more than I enjoy writing riffs. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I write riffs like to spite myself. Just be like I should do something else with my time, and I just write riffs all day anyway. You know what I mean? So that's our writing style. Is I'm an obsessive compulsive freak, and
and we rein him in.
It's called Verses, and it's way different. It's way more complicated. It's like what you all saw tonight. There's a lot of that record.
It's way better too, in my opinion.
The recording experience was super dope.
Eric's a fucking saint.
It's completely paid for by our wonderful dads at Creep Records. Completely took care of us the entire time. They got us groceries. We stayed in like right above the studio space where we were recording for like a whole week. We fucking got ridiculously high the entire time. We'd like recorded so much. We recorded way more than is on the album. We recorded like 17 or 18 songs with all kinds of shit added to them, all kinds of ridiculousness, and then went through them all and parsed it down into the album that it is now. And we did the artwork together. Cass did the artwork, but we all like developed it together, and Cass would just like draw, and we'd be like, oh, what if it was like this? And she'd be like, yeah, try that, and like it was like magical, the way the album came together. But like it's way mathier, it's way more complicated stuff on there. It's definitely way different. As far as influences, it might sound way more Chicago to people. I feel like,
we keep hearing that.
People are like,
it makes me scoff.
People like give us Midwestern pride all the time, and we're like, we want to be like,
we're transplants.
Thank you, but yeah, I'm not Midwestern. I don't know what to tell you.
I've eaten gator too much.
Yeah.
It's way longer.
Way longer.
For sure. It's the longest thing we've ever
I swear it's infinitely more complicated. Like, I'm just saying, there's some shit on there that is just like...
It blows my mind.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, it's weird. We didn't do, like, we did some stuff with some odd meter maybe before with some, like, noodles, but this is just, like, got some, like, hard, like, expert level on Guitar Hero shit, like, it's hard, it's complicated music. That's the main difference.